Central to God's prophetic plan is the restoration of Israel and the Jewish people. And in fact, Romans 11:11 explains that the Gentiles have been chosen to bring the witness of his Messiah to the Jews, and in so doing, to usher in Jesus' return. Well, today we're joined by Messianic Rabbi Kurt Schneider, who at the age of 20 had a supernatural encounter in which Jesus revealed himself as the Lord's Messiah. And Rabbi, good to have you with us today. Really been just a pleasure. Your presence here is just wonderful, if I may say. God's presence in you.
Thank you, Lord.
But you grew up in a Jewish home and in a Jewish culture and a Jewish family. And what was it like, and how did this experience happen where your eyes were open to see Jesus as Yeshua, the Messiah?
Right. Well, growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, in a very Jewish neighborhood, identity very, very strong in terms of who we were as a people, as a Jewish people. But most Jewish people, as you know, both in the United States and Israel, are secular. So we're very Jewish in terms of our identity, but in terms of relating our Jewishness to God, that really isn't the forefront of how we define our identity in the more secular settings. And so I was really very unprepared for what I was going to face at 20 years old when I received Jesus through a vision. I was basically, let me kind of start at the beginning. I was bar mitzvahed in a conservative synagogue at 13 years old. All my friends were Jewish growing up. I never thought about Jesus one way or the other. It was just a non-issue to me. I was a Jew. Just never considered him. No one had ever witnessed to me. I'd never read the New Testament. But at 20 years old, I went to sleep one night at 3217 Bremerton Road in Pepper Pike, Ohio. And the Lord awoke me in the middle of the night from my sleep. Again, no one had ever witnessed to me. I'd never read the New Testament, never thought about Jesus. All of a sudden, I'm awoken from my sleep. I'm in a state of what I call conscious awareness. Suddenly, I'm aware that I'm not sleeping, but my eyes are still closed, and I'm just aware that I'm aware. And in that state, Jesus appeared on the cross. It was in color. I could see the terrain that the cross was, in the ground in. And I knew enough as an American to at least know that the person on the cross was Jesus. And then a ray of red light from straight through the sky beamed down on his head. And when I saw the ray of red light beam down on his head, I knew that it was coming from God symbolically because it was coming from straight above, and that God was showing me that Jesus was the way to him. I had no idea what exactly that meant in terms of working out the doctrinal implications of all that and so on, but I knew that the Lord had revealed himself to me, and I knew that he had shown me that Jesus was the way. So I got out of my bed. Immediately I looked at my clock radio. That's how I knew it was 3:30 in the morning. I went to the restroom. I was so excited because I knew that the Lord had revealed himself to me. And at the time, I was really struggling. I had wrestled all through school, got a small scholarship to wrestle in college, but I came to the realization quickly as an adult that wrestling didn't mean a hill of beans in the real world. It meant everything to me as a high school athlete, and that's all I thought about. But, now I was dealing with the world that was a lot bigger than people that wrestled 119 pounds. And it was like suddenly I felt small, and I lost my sense of identity and purpose. So when the Lord revealed himself to me, I was ready. Because I was looking for an answer. And the next day I started telling my parents about it.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I had no idea. I was totally naive. I was so excited. In my naivety, I thought they would be excited about this too. And they didn't react much at first. They, I'm sure, thought it was a dream, and I'd stop talking about it in a day or two. But when they saw me continue to talk about it, I started telling everybody about it. And eventually somebody said, "You should go get a New Testament." So I went and got a New Testament, started devouring it, and I'd go to my dad and say, "Look at this verse, that God was in Messiah reconciling the world to himself." And I thought it was the coolest thing since sliced bread, but they ended up hiring one of the most famous deprogrammers in the country. Flew him from California to Cleveland, Ohio to have him kidnap me to deprogram me, and that was just kind of one of the things that I dealt with. So it was difficult, and still is.
Did you talk to, now was your family, were they faithful, so to speak? Did they, attend synagogue and honor Shabbat every week and all that? Did you talk to a rabbi about this at the time?
Yeah, they did bring me to see a rabbi, and we attended synagogue, as I was indicating, more of a traditional, more secular Jewish family, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, celebrated Passover, as a bar mitzvah and so on and so forth. But no, not observant Jews from the religious standpoint.
So with everything that was going on around you, how did you stay true to the vision and then take on the call that Jesus has given your life?
You know, I give all the glory to God because it really is. It's more about what He did, you know, rather than what I did. I mean, I remember when they came and they brought the deprogrammers in, you know, and my dad told me, he said, listen, don't make any plans because I'm thinking of buying this restaurant and maybe we'll be in business together. So don't make any plans Sunday. We're going to go meet this guy. So Sunday came. I was upstairs in my room. He called me. We're going to go now. So I came down. We got in the car, drove to this hotel in Beechwood, Ohio, in Cleveland, and we just went into a regular hotel room, which, looking back now, at 52 years old, I can see there were some things that didn't really add up. Yeah. But I remember walking in the hotel room, and inside there was three men, a short, distinguished-looking man in a three-piece suit, and two of his kind of like a bodyguard kind of deals to keep me from leaving. And the door closed behind me. He says, Kurt, we're going to talk about cults. I said, cults? I said, I'm not in a cult. I just believe that Jesus is the Messiah. He said, well, you've got nothing to worry about. I said, well, can I leave? And one of the big goons said, sit down. So a few minutes later, I said, well, can I use the restroom? So they let me go into the restroom in the hotel room there where I was trapped. And I got on my knees and I said, Lord, I said, I don't know what I'm about to face, but I just pray that you'll keep me through this.
Wow.
Wow. Now today, Discovering the Jewish Jesus is the name of the ministry you're involved in. You shepherd a congregation of Messianic congregation in Ohio. What's the word of the moment with regards to what God is doing through the movement of the Messianic Jewish movement, as well as the prophetic timetable in which we live, as we looked at Romans 11:11 just a moment ago?
That's a big question, Stefan.
That is.
But I think a couple things. I think, number one, in terms of what the Lord is doing at the moment with Messianic Judaism and the whole emphasis on really the church beginning to understand her faith in Messiah from a Hebraic or Jewish perspective, I think what is happening is what you said in the introduction to my appearance today, and that is that God's way of reaching Jewish people is predominantly through the witness of Gentile believers, Romans chapter 11. Paul said, for this purpose you've been saved, Romans 11:11, speaking to the Gentiles, that you might provoke the Jew to jealousy. And it's in this way that Jewish people will come to faith, which in turn will usher in his return. And so what I believe is happening is that the Gentile church is beginning to understand her relationship to Israel and her responsibility to reach Jewish people. And I think that these two things combined, the Gentiles understanding their call to share their faith in Messiah with Jewish people, as well as their gaining understanding as to how to do that from a Jewish perspective. In other words, you don't have to go to a Jewish person and say, listen, you shouldn't be Jewish, you need to become a Catholic.
Right.
No, they're being able to say to a Jewish person, did you know that Jesus is the Jewish Messiah?
Right.
And that he fulfilled all your holy days? So this is happening, and this is going to keep increasing. And it's going to bring a mass of Jewish people to faith, which will usher in Messiah's return. Right. Yeshua said in Matthew 23:39 to the Jewish people, you'll not see me again until you're saying, Baruch haba b'Shem Adonai, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. And then he spoke about his return. Yeah. And that's going to happen through this mass of Jewish people calling out to him that have come to faith largely through the witness of Gentile believers.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just because your ministry is it's very much an end times ministry.
It is.
What signs do you see that we really are in the last days?
Well, of course, the big one is that Jewish people are back in their own land, returning there from all the corners of the earth, which is such an incredible fulfillment of prophecy. The Lord said, I'm going to scatter you, but I'm going to bring you back to your own land. I'm going to sprinkle you with clean water. And so that is the huge one. And then the second one, I believe, is just the fact that Gentiles are, for the first time in almost 2,000 years, coming to understand God's love and covenant with the Jewish people and their call as a Gentile to reach them.
Wonderful. Well, Rabbi, thank you for joining us. We've got to have you back. I'm glad you're only a couple hours away in Toledo, because we can visit again. There's so much that we can learn and glean and understand as believers in Jesus, the roots of our faith and the significance and meaning of our connection to the root of David as well. If you'd like to connect with Rabbi Schneider, you can visit us online at harvest-tv.com. Click on Show Info in the menu bar. You'll find an easy way to link back to their website, which is discoveringthejewishjesus.com as well.